Good morning, my fellow Africans and the world at large. This is Emmanuel Kwajumensa once again, coming into your homes and your minds with a message of empowerment and enlightenment, all the way from Ontario, Canada. Today is the 10th of June in the year 2022, and the Bible says, "This is the day the Lord has made, and we should be rejoice and be glad in it." And for that matter, I take this opportunity to invite the whole world, any man or woman hearing me or listening to my voice, to join me to give thanks to God for the day that He has given unto us. And life in general, life is beautiful, life is wonderful, life is glorious, life is God Himself flowing through all things. Therefore, let us rejoice, and that is our worship and our service to God Himself. Today, I am going to speak to you on the topic, the mathematical principle 2 plus 2 equals 4 is universal. So it is our life principle. Every human being on earth here is animated by a life principle. Whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, whether you understand it or not. That is the truth. Every human being is God incarnate in a human body or earthly body. And it is the life principle in us that does everything through the body that we have. And so the Bible tells us that in Him we live, we move, and have our being. And so there is a certain principle, a certain power in you that moves you. And your life can be, or our life could be likened to that of our car or our cars. Every human being that has a car, you enter your car, then you operate the car, and the car takes you to whatever you want it to be, or it does for you whatever you want it to do for you. And in the same way, there is a life principle in us, and our bodies are the cars that the life principle uses to work or do things on earth here. And so you are powerful and greater than you think. You are not just an object. You are not just a body walking through this earth or walking through the world and one day just disappear or decompose into the ground. No, you are God Himself walking on earth here. And so God is what we call principle. One of the qualities or one of the aspects of God is called principle. And what is principle? Principle is anything that never changed. When we say a principle is a fixed law or is a fixed rule that remains unchanged. And so if we take the law of gravity, even before mankind's discovery of what gravity is, it was already existing and it never changed. That is a principle. We are told that our world is suspended in the outer space, and together with other planets, we are just revolving around the sun. And this is governed by a principle. And since day one, since time immemorial, this principle has never changed. And that is why we live on this earth and we do everything that we want to do. There is a principle. In the same way, if we bring it into our lives, ever since mankind became conscious and knows what we call rain, there has never been a day that rain has fallen or rain has risen from the ground into the skies. Rain must always come from the sky. And it begins by the water on the earth here evaporating into the atmosphere, and then it condenses and it becomes rain and comes back to us. This is a cycle, and it is governed by a principle that never changes. So if you look into your life, everything that we do, everything that we surround us, is governed by principle, and that is God himself maintaining everything. That is God himself maintaining everything and making sure everything works in accordance with his own laws and principles. And as the individualization of God, Spirit, or as the incarnate of God on earth here, we are bound by the same principles. And therefore, our life is supposed to be conducted along the laws of God, the universal laws and principles and the laws of our beings. And so, any man or woman that will know these principles, will know these laws, and apply them in his life in the exact way as it's supposed to be, create a life that is prosperous, that is beautiful. And that is why in our society, we normally have people when in their early ages or their formative ages, when growing up, people normally call them weird because they do not go in line or in accordance, they do not conduct their life in accordance with what society has given. They always do things the other way, in opposition to what is called the established way of doing things. And so the majority always call them weird. They tag them, they give them names. But the truth of the matter is that such people eventually rises to become the leaders and control those who were calling them names and actually disgracing them when they were growing up. Because these few people, whether by nature or incidentally, stumbled upon the principles of life and they obeyed in alignment with this principle. And for that matter, life begins to work for them in a way that all other people don't get. So your life is a principle, is governed by principles. And as we have the mathematical principle, which is our topic, the mathematical principle 2 plus 2, it always gives us 4. In the same way, a life that is organized on principle, a life that is organized on universal laws and principle will always give us a life that is beautiful, wonderful, flamboyant, and glorious because the life is organized, or the life is organized or conducted on God, who is the bedrock of our existence. So your life is not just a haphazard thing. Your life is governed by laws. Your life is governed by principles. Your life is not supposed to be conducted or organized on religious dogmas or traditional beliefs or traditional beliefs, traditional whatever you call it, traditional practices. But your life is supposed to be organized in alignment with the laws and the principles of God. So today, I am going to do this once again, and as I always do, we'll go into the Bible. The Bible gives us a lot of insight about how we're supposed to conduct our lives. And we're going to look at 2 biblical verses. The first one is the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 6. And according to the book of Malachi, for I, the Lord, do not change. Therefore, you, children of Jacob, are not consumed. I repeat, for I, the Lord, do not change. Therefore, you, children of Jacob, are not consumed. And this biblical verse is the truth or the presentation of the truth that God is principle. And it is clearly stated that God does not change. I, the Lord, does not change. And therefore, if God is to change, that means our life will be thrown into confusion, chaos, because there will no more be order. And that is why God is all that there is. God is everywhere. And the principle of God is everywhere to keep everything in check, everything in place. So any man or woman that lives in accordance with the life principle and the laws of the universe have life beautiful. We have what we call the law of gravity. And the law of gravity, we do not have a particular law of gravity for Europeans and another one for Africans and another one for Asians. The law of gravity is universal and is applicable to all men and women, regardless of where you find yourself. And it is the same thing with our life. So long as you obey the law of gravity, you are safe. But if you try to go against the law of gravity, you injure yourself or you end your life. And in the same way, so long as we identify, we identify and learn the laws that governs us, the life principles that animates us, and live in accordance with its own laws and principles, then we are safe. Then we create a life that is wonderful, a life that is beautiful, a life that depicts the glory of God. And that is what we are looking at today. So God does not change. And therefore, the life principle in you too does not change. Therefore, if your life is something that is sour, something that is underdeveloped, something that you do not like, that means you are going against your own life principle. You do not understand the puzzle that you've been given to you. Life is a puzzle that has been given to us, just as we are given mathematical problems in the classroom when we were school children. And as we know, no one in the classroom that understands mathematical principle will ever sweat. You will work it and enjoy it. And mathematics is one of the subjects that you can actually walk out of the examination room with confidence, knowing that you've passed. Because if you know the principle and you apply it, and you know you've done it well, you know you'll get the answer. And so it is life. Anyone knows the life principles and obeys his own laws and principles, walks in confidence, with a boldness that he is a successful man. Even if momentarily he does not show on the outer, he knows and believes that he's already successful. And therefore, it's just a matter of time that everything will fall in place. And so our life is to be organized in a certain way, and that is by laws and principles. And that is the universal laws and principles. And that is what we are sharing here. And so we are also going to look at the book of Job, chapter 17, verse 9. And according to the book of Job, yet the righteous holds his way, and he who has clean hands grows stronger and stronger. I repeat, yet the righteous holds to his way, and he who has clean hands grows stronger and stronger. And who is the righteous? The righteous person is the right thinker. And the right thinker is the one that obeys his own principles, his own laws of beings and universal laws. Any man or woman that thinks rightly is a righteous person. And any woman that thinks rightly always gets things to work out for him in a beautiful and a wonderful way, because he or she is working in alignment with the God principle in him or her. And that is the truth. So the righteous person is the right thinker. And so long as the right thinker keeps to his way and doesn't allow anyone to contaminate his line of thinking, he will grow stronger. He will grow stronger. He will grow stronger. And that is by making his hands clean, without allowing anyone to contaminate him. He will grow stronger and stronger. And so it is in our lives. So you see that even in your community, in your society, wherever you find yourself, some people, they are doing well. They are making, life is so beautiful for them. And then your own life or other people around you are toiling, suffering. What is the difference? The difference is what I'm telling you. It is not the work of any outer force against those people. It is their lack of understanding. And as I said, some people by nature or by their past experiences or by incidentally behave in alignment with the laws of their own being and laws of the universe. Therefore, they get everything perfectly for themselves. And that is why even we see people telling others that for you, I don't know, there is something. And in Africa, we always say that the person is a witch. The person is no. The person is only thinking and behaving in a certain way. And it's in a life that is in accordance with the life principle in him or her. And that is how life is supposed to be conducted. That is how life is supposed to be. So we are here as children of God or as God's incarnate to work in accordance with the laws and the principles of God. And so long as we are on earth here, no man will ever do the right thing to get the wrong answer. No man will ever do the right thing to get the wrong answer. Listen to me and let this sink into your mind well. No man or woman will ever do the right thing to get the wrong answer. It never happened. In the same way, no man or woman will take rice and cultivate it, do everything right, water it, and make sure that everything is done, and for him to eventually go on to harvest corn. It is what you sow is what you reap. And when you sow it and you water it and you do everything right, then it brings back the right results to you. So your life is sour. Your life, you don't like your life because you lack understanding of the life principles that animates you, that do everything for you. And this is the time that you need to become awakened to this and begin to seek the truth and apply the truth in your life. So, the righteous person is not the one that goes to church. The righteous person is not the one that performs ablution in the mosque or before he pray. Or the righteous person is not the one that wear a robe or whatever that we will see in our religious circles. The righteous person is not the one that burns incense. The righteous person is not the one that burns candles or whatever. The righteous person is the right thinker. And the right thinker is always in alignment with the laws of the universe and his own laws of being. And for that matter, whatever he does, it is like the one that knows the principle behind 2 + 2 = 4. Once you understand the logic behind this mathematical principle, you are safe. In the same way, once you understand the laws and the principle that governs your own being and the universe, you are safe to do exploits. You don't have to toil. You don't have to break your back. But you think and act intelligently, and by the power of the principle in you and the law of attraction, everything is attracted into your life effortlessly. Your life become a flamboyant one. Your life become an enjoyable one. And this is the template upon which we're supposed to build our lives. So, if you look at Africans, and by the way, by the job we do, we interact with a lot of our young men and women. And one thing that runs through the mouth of our young men and women, African, all over Africa, is that Africa is a continent that is doomed. Africa is hell. That is the right word. They say Africa is hell. Some also say that Africa is closer to hell. And therefore, they are doing everything possible. All that they are doing, all their praise is that they will get the opportunity to come to heaven, which is Europe or North America. So in the African calculation, we are living on our continent and it's hell. And then other continent, that is Europe and North America, there is heaven there. So this is where what we are talking about here comes in. God never changes. The principle never changes. So there is no way that there will be a certain principle working for the Europeans and the North Americans, that the heaven will be created on their land, such that there will be a different principle working for us, that it is creating hell for us. The only difference is our lack of understanding of what we are discussing today. America is what it is because it was built on principles. The people of Americans organize their life on principle. British and all European people organize their life on principles. The fact is that the African does not have principle. We lack principle. We don't know, and what we call principle in our life doesn't exist. What we have in our life is traditional practices and religious dogmas. We organize our life based on morality that is based on these two things. But that is not what the universe operates on. The universe operates on principles. And for that matter, we know that even in our lives, sometimes the religious people always condemn other people, and that is when they classify whatever they get as the work of the devil, that they are going to hell or whatever. When someone is prosperous, they look at the person's life. Oh, the person he fornicates, he drinks, but how come that he's doing well and we are not doing well? Yes, because the principle is principle, and once you obey it, it will bring the results to you. So it is not about religious morals or religious practices or whatever. It is about the principles that governs us. And as it is the law of gravity, let the Pope of today climb a tree and drop himself to the ground. He will get a consequence. And let the most wicked person on earth also perform the same act. Both of them will get the same results because the law or the principle does not discriminate. And it is the same thing in our life. Our continence is more or less held to our own children, our own people, because we lack understanding of the principles that governs us. And this is the time we have to wake up. This is the time we have to begin to apply the laws of the universe. We need to revamp. We need to review and reassess our way of life. Africans, we are made and created born powerful, but we are using our own principles against ourselves. And that is burying ourselves in all these moral traditions and all these things. We need to liberate ourselves from that and begin to use the principles in our lives. I have a life experience which has actually taught me a lot of lessons. And when I say Africans we lack principle, it is indeed true. We lack principle. People who lack principle are those who are corrupt. And in this thing runs in our life. Yeah, when we talk of corruption, we only talk of the government leaders who are in leadership. No, that is not true. Corruption is embedded in the African system because we lack principle. We think that, doing this is right, therefore we do this and that. And at the end of the day, we end up doing what or using what we are not supposed to use. A principled man is the one that takes a stand, regardless of what is going on. This is what is supposed to be done, and this is meant for this, and this is what we're going to stand for. That is what we're going to use it for. That's the principle. The one with the principle is the one that, he will look at, what you said looks so sad, so I'm giving this to you. No. If you have in excess and you give to the person, give to the person. But if you do not have, but what you have in your hand is to be used for the state, is to be used for other people, is to be used for a particular purpose, you do not have the right to go into that. If anything at all, look for any other means to help that person, but not to take this on a certain kind of morality. And that is what is killing the African society. We are going against the life principle in us. And as I was saying, the life experience I had was in England. When I migrated to England, I went to England as a student. And by then, as a student, you was allowed to work only 20 hours. And I remember this story very well. By then, I was living in Hounslow. And I took a bus from Hounslow to a place called Chiswick Job Center. So when I went to the job center, I saw a job advert. And I printed it, and by then, if you see the advert, you print it out and give it to the assistants there, and they will call the employer, make arrangement for you, and then you go for the interview. So I got this, and it was 21 hours, but I was supposed to work 20 hours. So the one who attended to me, she was very, very serviceable. But the conversation went up to a point that she asked me what was my immigration status. And I said I was a student. And that was, bam, that was the end of it. She said, no, sir, this job is for people who are not students. It's 21 hours. You are a student. You are breaking the law. Therefore, I cannot help you with this. I can help you with all other jobs. But this one, you are a student and you are supposed to live in accordance with the law. And that was it. And as I was saying that, I have just completed University of Ghana, and I was in my late 20s. And the one I was speaking to was just about 17 to 18 years old girl. And this girl stood upon his ground and actually prevented me from taking that job. I was very annoyed. I took it in a different way. But later on, when I came to my senses, then I began to ask myself, oh, this is what we do not have in Africa. And that is why we are not getting things done. Imagine this girl put in a position as a prime minister, as a leader of a nation. What will she do to preserve a nation? It's a fact. Whatever you do at the lower level is what you take to the upper level. And so when we talk of principle, the African lack principle, and that is why our life is full of misery. So long as you know the principle, you know how to work out the principle or the problem 2 plus 2, you get the answer 4. In the same way, so long as you apply the right principles in life, it's like 2 plus 2 and you get the right answer. You never get the wrong answer. You never get the wrong results. And so when we talk of we're living in accordance with the principles that governs our law, it is to look into our lives and walk only in the direction of our divinity and stand on and do only the things that comes to support what we are here for. What we are here for. So in Africa, it is easy for someone to just look at someone, what he doesn't have, and begin to look at what he is not supposed to give to someone. He takes it and gives it to another person because he thinks he's doing right. Because he thinks if he does that, he will go to church. That is what the religious men are saying. No, you will do charity only with what you have, but not what you do not have. And that is what we take and we move it into the government level. So when you talk of corruption in Africa, everyone in Africa is corrupt because we lack principle. It is only when we look at it at the higher level that we look at it. But we are all corrupt. That is why those who are leaders take it up there. If we are all not corrupt, if we are all principled, we have leaders who go there to be principled. That is what we are talking of. That is what we are talking about. So, the righteous person is the one think right and do this in the same way. He does not allow anyone to contaminate him or her, but he lives in accordance with the laws of the universe, the laws that governs him or her, and the laws that governs all of us. And it's like a schoolboy who knows how to work out 2 plus 2, and the answer becomes 4. And the one who knows the principles and applies them, obeys them, he dominates and become the world changer. So that is how our life is supposed to be conducted. The principles that governs us never change. And therefore, we are to change to be in alignment with the principle. So if the life that you are having is not good for you, that means you have to change your way of life. You have to change the way you conduct your life. And if you change the way you conduct your life and it becomes in alignment with the principle, you will get a better and a beautiful life. You do not have to go and pray. You do not have to go and do all these acrobatic displays that we do at the time. We do not have to build cathedrals and mosques all along there, but we only have to obey the law, the principles that governs us. And our nations will be prosperous. Everything that we have in us will spring out into the outer world. And society, humanity will see it and benefit from it. So, we are governed by laws. We are governed by principles. And any man or woman that operates along these universal laws and principles will get the right result, will get the right answer. And as I always do, if we move this from our individual level to our society level, our racial level, it is the same thing. And as I was using the European examples, what I saw in Britain and what I saw in Canada here, what I experienced and I read about in other parts of the world, in other developed world, they became what they are because they knew the principles and applied them. They have created a system. Yeah, even though we still have issues, we still have difficult problems, but that is the truth that they are walking in the right direction. Anytime bring themselves back, evaluate their system, evaluate their way of life, evaluate their conduct of life, and then bring improvement. They keep on improving and improving and improving. And that is how they are moving. Now, if you come to this part of the world, what they emphasize on is multiracial, multiculturalism. If you go to Britain, you have any group of people that you can have. If you go to France, if you go to Germany, if you go to anywhere in Europe, if you come to North America here, Canada and USA, it's a mixture of people from different places. And even if you come to America and no one talks about tribes. No one talk about anything. It's all people. When you talk of tribe, that is when we go into the indigenous people. But all the immigrants that moved there, they've been able to integrate into one another. That they've created a community. They are all one. No one talks about, I am this tribe, I am that tribe, I am this. No. If you go to Britain, Britain was one time a tribal land. They've worked on themselves and improved what we call integration. They integrated it into themselves. They integrated themselves into one common big society, one common big nation, and everyone is part of it. Even those of us that are of black African descent or from different races, they have accepted us. And now we are moving from this even to what we call mixed races. All European nations, or the North American, a time will come that typical African race, typical the Caucasian or whatever, European, will not be in existence because our children are mixing. We are mixing from one another. And therefore, the only group of people that we will have in this part of the world is the mixed races. And now, this particular thing, Africa is already there to it. Nothing of that sort is happening. Any child that an African man or woman will give birth to will settle in the developed world, but not in Africa. So you will realize that because we lack principle, we haven't been able to develop our land. We have created a hell for our own self, saying that our children are running away from there. We are running away from our own hell. No one is coming. And it is because we do not apply principles. We don't understand how the game of life is to be played. And that is what we are talking about. You are here to play a part in the creative order. You are here to play a part in the evolution of mankind. And we have to take deliberate act. We have to take deliberate actions to make things work. Whatever we are seeing in Europe, whatever we are seeing in North America was deliberately created, America in particular. The law of divine oneness was stated in the Independent Declaration that all men and women are born equal. And for that matter, they created a system that today, all of us, descended, even though it doesn't matter how it started, they have made improvement to it. And that is what we call evolution. You will never have a perfect system. A perfect system, that means that is the end of humanity. We are always evolving in the same way our systems are always evolving. We have to give them the credit for what they have done so far. But the fact is, what are we doing on our side, on Africa, such that we will be on equal level, we'll be on the same level with them? Multiracialism, multiculturalism, nothing of this thing is happening in Africa. And even on the African continent, we haven't been able to work on ourselves to integrate into one another. If you go to any African country, we live alongside tribes. And that is why always there is war, this and that and that. We are killing each other. Look at what happened in Ethiopia, a nation. Then one tribe believes they are bigger, they are stronger. They want to break away. Look at what happened in South Sudan. All these things are examples of how the African hasn't been able to apply the principle of life and know that he is at the center of his own life, and therefore he has to make deliberate actions to move himself forward. By this time, our tribes, our tribal relationship, we should be beginning to de-emphasize on the importance of our tribe, such that we will grow into a one nation. We'll grow into one nation. We'll grow into one people. That is how all other people are going, particularly those in Europe and North America. No one talks about tribes. But in Africa, we are not able to do things in a way that we will see that this is my people. Whatever we will do, you have it at the back of your mind that it is your tribe area, where you came from, that has to be benefit. And so the corruption and other things we are seeing is based on this. Social re-engineering, societal re-engineering. We need to take deliberate act to create it. And this is why, by living by the life principle, we need to come to the understanding. We need to come to that understanding that we are here to play a part. And once we play a part and do the right thing, understand the principle in us is ever moving. The principle working in us is always evolving, always expanding, and always looking for new avenues. And therefore, we have to make the deliberate act and allow it to move through us, to move us to where He wants to take us to. The future of the human race is one race. The future of the human race is one race, believe it or not. And it is only those who have made themselves pessimist that will drive this on. But Africa, we need to rise up. I am not talking about other races because I don't belong to them. I belong to Africa. And this is what God has laid upon my heart to bring to you, my fellow Africans, that it is about time that we begin to re-engineer our society. We begin to re-engineer our communities, every aspect of our lives, such that we will reform our living, we will reform our existence. This is the only way that we can create a life that matches the 21st century, the millennium year, a period that people are about to go into space for leisure. That is the time. Now, the people of the Europeans, the North Americans, they are not talking about tribalism, they're dealing with racism. But Africans, we are still talking about tribalism. We haven't been able to integrate into one another. By this time, a country like Ghana, a country like Nigeria, a country like Togo, a country like Uganda, a country like Tanzania, South Africa, we should not be operating on tribal lines. We should not be having traditional rulers who look, we have the multiplicity of these rulers. And none of them is giving us any concrete result. This is the time that we need to de-emphasize. We have only one nation, and that nation is Ghana. And therefore, all other people are Ghanaians. Up to a point that we can only talk of that, this is where our descendants, dear, but not living in these silos that we are this and that and that, and therefore we are beating one another all the time. Look, we are going against the life principle. The life principle in us is that we have to move forward. We have to move forward. And moving forward is to becoming one, integrating into one another. Integrating into one another and to become one. We come here, we see what people have done, and we'll see it to be beautiful. But we don't want to take action to create our own. Who is coming to Africa? Who is coming to live in Africa? Even if our children are calling it hell, then how will other people call it? That is after hell. That is no name. That place don't even have name. So this is the time we have to wake up. My brother, my sister, my fellow Africans, we do not have time to waste time. We do not have time to waste. But we only have to wake up and begin to work on ourselves. Begin to search for the laws of the universe, the laws and the principles of the universe. And that is why at Eagle Mentality, we are propagating the literature. Our literatures are littered everywhere. And this is the time that my fellow young men and women, the nations of Africa belongs to you. And we have to rise up and remold and shape this nation as we want it. Traditional rulership or whatever, we have to re-evaluate them, we have to reassess them, and we have to reform all of them and give them a place. We have to de-emphasize the importances. The priority is a Ghanaian, and that is the national interest. The priority is a Togolese. That is the national interest. The priority is a Tanzanian. That is the national interest. All other tribes, we have to bury them in such a way that in future, our children will come to live as one people who work together. It is beautiful. I have lived in England, lived in UK, I've lived in Scotland, I've lived in Liverpool. I've lived in London. And I know how it is. No one, introduces himself by tribe. You only say that I'm from the north, I'm from this. No one talks about tribe. But in Africa, the first thing we are the tribe, and then where you're coming from. And one of the biggest challenge is the few people that are related with from Nigeria. They have this east and west divide, and you see that as soon as they meet, they talk along those lines, and then they begin to drift apart. And sometimes let's say if you are a Ghanaian, if you are in the middle, you begin to be more like a referee because they have this kind of at the back of their mind. This one is from the east and this one is from the west. By this time, Yoruba and Igbo, we should be able to mix ourselves together. Though that there shouldn't be at any level that anything will come across that will take arms against each other. The Gombes and the Concombes or whatever, there shouldn't be at any point that we will take guns against each other because we have integrated into one another that we've become one. The law of oneness is what we are talking of. It is only when we work on our societies and we work on our communities, we work on ourselves that we have only one group of people who are working together in unison and only thinking of the national interest, thinking of the interest of the nation Ghana, the interest of the nation Tanzania, the interest of the nation South Africa. That is when Africa, we are working in alignment with the life principle in us. We are supposed to move forward. We are supposed to go forward. What is the changes that is coming from our communities and societies? What are we deliberately bringing into our lives as our own effort in moving ourselves forward? That is the question we need to ask. This is a high-level thing that every African, whatever you are, whoever you are, we have to begin to ask ourselves. We have to begin to talk about it. The unexamined life is not worth living. Is indeed true. A life that we live to preserve old things and want to practice them as it used to be is an unexamined life. And that life must be reevaluated. We ought to rise up. We ought to wake up and do things like what all other people are doing. We are modernized now. We are in the 21st century, moving into the 22nd century. We are in the era that we are communicating with each other in real time on videos and whatever, different kind of things. We are doing business across continents. Therefore, we are all moving to become one. But the cry is, what is the role of Africa? What is Africa doing? What is Africa doing? What can we do to get our own children that we are giving birth in the diaspora to come back to Africa? What is the African doing? We are already behind because we lack principles. We lack principles. Corruption and all these things that happen, they are things that goes against our own divinity. And as I spoke the other day, anything that demeans your divinity, fight against it. Anything demeans your divinity, fight against it. And so anything that you do that doesn't make you feel good, don't do it. Don't do things because it is the societal rules. Do things that comes from within you and give you peace and joy. And that is by living by the life principle. We are given a life puzzle, whether we like it or not. And that puzzle must be worked out. And it is only those that understand that the logic behind the puzzle are able to work it out and have beautiful and fuller life. And that is what we are seeing. Whatever the Europeans have created, whatever they have done, they knew the life principle and they adapted to it. And it is moving them, it is taking them. In the same way, whatever we are having that our children, our own people are calling Africa hell is because of our ignorance about the life principles, about the principles of the universe, the laws of the universe, and therefore we have created discord. And as the book of Job says, the righteous keeps to his ways. The righteous person keeps to his ways. The righteous person keeps his ways. And he became stronger and stronger. In the same way, we have to come to the understanding that God doesn't change. The principles that governs it never changes. And therefore, if all of us, Africans, Europeans, Asians, all of us look for the principles and obey them, we will have equal results. And that is why we say we have equal results and we will have equal development on all continents. At the moment, we have disparity. We have this huge gap between us and other people because we don't understand the principles that we are supposed to operate along, or the principles that we're supposed to obey. And this is the time we have to wake up and begin to work on that. Let us not forget the words of the prophet Malachi, that for I, the Lord, do not change, therefore you, O children of Jacob, are not consumed. In the same way, the laws of the universe does not change, and therefore we will not be consumed. The only time that it looks that we are being consumed is when we go against the laws of the universe. And then the book of Job also says that the righteous holds to his ways, and he who has clean hands grows stronger and stronger. Let us clean our hands. Let us begin to clean our hands. Let us begin to do away with all these things that has become entanglement that is derailing our progress. And then let us have clean heart. Let us keep to the righteous way. That is the righteous thinking in the highest, with the universal laws of our being and the universal laws that governs us. This is the time that the African has to rise up to seek understanding and the purpose for which he is on the earth here. And that is my message for you. And as I bring my message to an end, once again, I say, may the overshadowing presence of God that keeps the stars from falling on us, and that keeps the planets in their orbits from clashing with one another, keep you, lead you, and guide you, for you to discover the life principles of your own existence and the laws of the universe, and apply them in your life, such that all of us put together will be enlightened and move Africa in its right direction. Once again, my name is Emmanuel Kwadwo-Mensah. I am a co-founder of the Eagle Mentality Group. At Eagle Mentality Group, we dedicate ourselves to the teaching and the propagation of information about the power of the subconscious mind and the universal laws and principles that governs us. It is our dream and determination to raise a new group of Africans that think and do things in alignment of the laws of the universe and our own beings, so that we will create a new Africa, an Africa that is based on universal principles. And we are working our life puzzles and getting the right answers, just as we worked out the mathematical principle in school, 2 + 2, and got the answer 4. And once again, do not forget, no one on earth here would do the right thing to get the wrong answer. Thank you, and God bless you.